Mrignayani. Welcome to LegalEdge LLB YouTube channel. I am excited to have you, and we've had like conversations before this as well
Yes,
to understand, and it's good to have you here. And I think I'm gonna set the pretext very clear that you had a very interesting journey, and your undergrad, then NLSAT 25, and now NLSAT 26. I
yes,
think it's going to be extremely, and super relatable for a gazillion students out there because there's one question that they struggle with, which is like whether to take a gap year. Is it worth taking a gap year for an
yeah,
LSAT or not? And then, but very layered apprehensions. So I think that's
yeah.
essentially that we'll discuss. But before that, let's just start with a brief introduction of yours. If you could just introduce your profile, how did you
Hmm.
come across NLSAT, then your 25 experience, 26, and then we'll continue to build on it.
Right. So I did my undergrad in the Netherlands. I'd gotten a full scholarship to study at University College Maastricht. And so it was a liberal arts course. So I focused my studies on international relations and sociology. And then when I came back to India after it, I was not feeling like I was fulfilled in my studies, and I wanted to do either a master's or something further, and I wasn't yet sure of what masters I wanted to do. So I thought, let me look around. So that's when I started working. So I worked for about a year at IISc at the Center for Society and Policy. So I was a researcher there.
Oh,
um
great.
and thank you. And while there, I actually was interacting with a couple of like family friends who have either done the 3-year law course or were thinking of doing it. So they pushed me to think about this and look into this. And I have a lot of family who are alumni of NLS.
Oh,
So yeah, from there I just kind of it led me to decide to do the 3-year law course. Also, I think when I was in school, I was considering doing CLAT, but I was quite scared by it. And secondly, I had already gotten into college, so I didn't really look into it further. But yeah, I am very interested now, therefore, to like go into it. And also, I feel like I'm a more well-rounded person than I would have been when I was 17 to go into CLAT. I think law can be quite a competitive field. So I feel I'm more ready for it now than I was maybe then. And so, yes, I took a gap year. So I attempted it in 2000 last year, so 2025. Didn't get in. I, in fact, didn't even pass part A. I did completely self-study. And then I decided I'll take a gap year because I was studying while working and it is quite difficult, to be honest. And yeah, the gap year really helped. It's quite mentally challenging because it can get very monotonous when you're just studying and not have anything else to do. But it also helps you really focus and hone down and your skills. Yeah.
again, very interesting journey, and I think very uh, an organic inclination towards law because of
Yeah.
your family, or just like you're like slightly thought of doing flat back when in 12th.
Yes.
And I think it very interestingly articulated that you feel much more prepared entering law at
Yeah.
this age than you would have at the age of 17. And
Yes.
also like just following up, how difficult was it to decide, it's once you start earning, it
Yeah.
becomes addictive in nature because then it's a loop. You see the salary credited every month and the risk
Yeah.
taking appetite, it takes a
Yeah.
toll. So how challenging it was to finally decide that you'll leave the job, you'll take a gap year, you prepare for an extremely fiercely competitive examination,
Yeah.
let go of the salary, and was it worth it? I mean, what are the pros and cons that you deliberated and to decide that you'll go ahead with
Hmm.
this?
So I had thought that because for the so I was actually encouraged by my parents to like do coaching. But I hadn't thought of it because I was like, I first want to attempt on my own. And because I didn't get in, I was like, okay, I have that option now. So I wanted to then utilize that. And I knew, so also I hadn't really looked into all the other possibilities of the 3-year law courses in the other colleges like NLU Delhi, Symbiosis. And so I had looked into that. So I thought, okay, let me take a gap year. And NLSAT is the main goal, but it's always good to have plan Bs. And so that's why I thought, okay, if I'm attempting all of them. And for that, you need to like really take out the time. Secondly, the project I was working on at my work had finished. So it was a good segue for me to sort of make a decision into this sort of gap year, because I could either then move into a new project, but that would take another year, or decide to then, okay, like leave it and then start afresh. There were definitely cons. I mean, the money is definitely something you get addicted to, as you said. But I sort of saw it as an investment, because I think in India, gap year is still like little bit people are afraid of,
Yes,
as much
it's
as I
not a
suppose
culture. It's not per se
it's
a
not.
culture. A lot of
Yeah,
times you'll see that abroad it is encouraged, so that you're like
it is.
giving
Yeah.
a good enough time to yourself to actually figure out. Yeah,
Yeah.
continue and then I'll add to it.
No, no, that's exactly what. And I think I'm very happy my mother like supported me. And yeah, it was difficult, but I kind of see it now as a sense of like validation that okay, I it was worth the time that I took out from my life for this. Yeah.
In hindsight, in retrospect, you always realize that it was the right decision to make.
Yes,
And
yes.
I think so all students, like time and again interact with them whether to go ahead with a gap year or not. So I think kind of depends on a lot of objective parameters. But
Yes.
what one parameter that all students should rule out is the fear that what if you don't? I mean, it's worth
Yeah.
taking that chance, it's worth taking that risk, and one should go ahead and attempt it. And again, I understand it's a big decision to let go of financial independence, but then whatever it is that you do now, you're possibly doing it for the next 40 years of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay to segue into something or take a detour now. Then it's, I think, just to summarize, take a chance and regret it versus you not taking the chance and then regretting it.
Yeah. And
So
I also think I feel like I wouldn't have been a good place to take a gap year, I suppose, at like 18. I know a lot of people who think like, oh, should they take a gap year right after college, or right after high school for preparation for CLAT? I wouldn't suggest that, because I feel like when you're 20, like I was 22, and when I took the gap year, I also knew what my goals were. I was very clear of this. And I think I also had the self-motivation somewhere when when you've already studied for so like for 3 years and you've come in, you're like, okay, you know what, you're ready to put in that time and effort. Um, so yeah, I think I wouldn't want to do it before. Maybe now I'm more like for the 3 year law course, definitely I would recommend, yeah, taking a
I
gap year.
think just varies from one individual to another.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
A lot of
Yeah.
students are comfortable taking a gap year right after class 12
Yeah.
because then so I think so the risk taking appetite is inversely proportional to age. As you
Yes, yes,
age,
yeah.
it significantly declines. So you're much more comfortable taking that risk a lot earlier because once you enter the job market also and once you start earning, it becomes
Yeah.
extremely difficult to let go of that financial independence. Plus, you're really out of touch to put in those hours in preparing for competitive
Yeah.
examinations. It's extremely difficult to get back to that zone, into that headspace. I
Yeah,
think varies from
definitely.
one individual to another,
Yeah.
but I mean, commendable. The way you had
Thank
charted
you.
your journey and the trajectory is extremely, extremely inspiring. Would you
Thank you.
feel changed from 25 to 26? And but how did your day look like? How much time did you invest in part A, part B? And
Hmm.
just take us through your journey a little.
So I put most of my attention on part A, at least in the beginning of my like the studies thing, because I felt like if I couldn't pass part A, part B wouldn't even be
Evaluated.
evaluated. So part A, I started to do a lot of mocks, and I started to understand where I was doing well in. Because I would get the similar score in most of the mocks. So I realized English I was doing well in. And once I started to practice a lot of the English, I realized it's actually quite doable. And so I realized that's one place I shouldn't lose marks in. Because current affairs is something which is a hit or miss. You can study as much as you want, you'll still not study all of it. So yeah, English is definitely something I focus on first, and I got that to like, the key. After that, I started focusing on current affairs. And for current affairs, I would do the compendiums, a lot of these that were available, and also I would study the newspaper. I would every morning, that was my routine. I would open the newspaper and I would have a notebook and I would make notes. And then a few weeks later, I would revise the notes. But yeah, I started with the Indian Express, and then I went on to the Hindu, and then a lot of the times I would look at the Guardian online. But yeah, mainly the Hindu I focused on. And yeah, that really helped me. Secondly, for the part B, it was just I really focused on the sample sets that NLS gives you because I felt like there are what about like 5 or 6 essays available on every sample paper, so it was quite sufficient also. So yeah, I would practice the things and get it checked by either mentors or like my family and stuff, and they would like give me some inputs.
I think something that essentially students miss out on that so very interesting part is to have like a very thorough understanding of your strengths and weaknesses. Just the way you
Yeah,
highlighted that English is your strong suit, you shouldn't essentially be losing out marks there.
yeah,
So, and again, I highlighted to my students that preparation unassessed is preparation half done. So your mock is 20%, your analysis is essentially 80%. Once you have
yeah,
like a very thorough understanding of what are your strengths and weaknesses, so on the day of the examination, your weak
yeah,
area needs to be at least like a 75% of what your good area is. Because you're
exactly.
good, you'd nevertheless score, but it's what
Yeah.
essentially your performance in your weak area that'll actually get you through.
Yeah,
How
even in part B for the essays, I knew the analytical essay was my strong suit. And I know it's a larger marks also.
15 marks,
So
yes.
yeah, so I knew that okay, if even if I get one essay wrong in the legal reasoning essays, it's okay. I can score better and make up that marks in maybe my analytical essay. So
I mean, again, the takeaway is primarily being having a thorough understanding of your strengths and weaknesses. Because
yeah.
if you'll essentially see part B, so at least this is how I orient my students that you break down part B into again two sections like case study 60 marks and then analytical essay 15 marks.
Yeah.
And analytical essay, the kind of depth of knowledge that it demands, you're much likely to score less in analytical essay than you're likely to
Oh.
score higher in case studies because case studies is essentially testing your application of law and your articulation.
Hmm.
So as long as you have that understanding that listen, this is where I can maximize or optimize my scores, this is what essentially is expected of the students to have like a very thorough understanding of your strengths and weaknesses, and that comes from solving mocks very regularly. So how consistent were you with solving mocks, and how often did you solve mocks?
So I started with solving one mock a day, and then I would sometimes do two mocks a day, but definitely in a week, 3 to 4 mocks. Because I mean, but I did stop doing the mocks 2 weeks before the exam because I felt like it would overwhelm me. I'm someone who doesn't study too much few days before the exam because I feel like there's not anything I can
Cognitive
study.
burnout, basically.
Exactly. And also, I feel like there's nothing I can study at that moment that's going to make me change my, thing that much. But that's me personally. So I stopped about a week before before the exam. But until then, I would do about 3 to 4 mocks a week, definitely. And the thing is, it wasn't even so much that I was looking at my score because I knew already kind of where my weaknesses were or where my strong, but also my time management. Because a large thing of the NLSAT exam is that it can be really like
A
lengthy.
lot of your competition gets eliminated because they couldn't complete the paper in time.
Exactly, exactly, yeah. And I remember when I wrote in 2025, though I finished the exam, it was really hurried and I was not at all happy because I feel like if I had more time, I would have been able to have a better refined approach to the exam. So this time I was very happy when I wrote the exam that I wasn't actually in a time crunch. So that was good.
Yeah, I remember we were discussing this over call that regularly solving mocks, because again, see, the team puts in a lot of time, effort, and energy in curating the mocks, because while it is important to know what to study, it is equally important to know what not to study.
Yes, yes,
And
yeah.
mocks essentially expose you. So A, you do a lot of learnings while you're attempting the mocks because time management, everything, different kinds of question. And B, once you analyze them, so like a lot of your
Mm,
learnings are done from there.
yeah,
So, like all students will be watching this like a heads up. Do solve as many mocks as possible and analyze them.
yes.
Uh, Great, Mrignayani. We'll just conclude this with suggestions for NLSAT 2027 aspirants and things that they should take note of when they should start preparing anything.
I think I think for current affairs, you should definitely start preparing. It's just that because I wrote like a few of the other 3 year LLB courses exams, and I just felt like the just level of current affairs is so much higher in NLSAT that
NLSAT.
yeah, and it's like it's not simply your restricted to your like national news or political news. It's also just like, they ask questions from sports, movies, pop
A lot of
culture.
pop culture driven. So they would
Yes,
essentially pick up things which are very much shaping the mainstream narrative.
yes,
A lot of
exactly.
pop culture themes.
A lot of pop culture things. They love the Booker Prize and they ask a
They
lot of
love
questions.
books and authors in general.
Yeah,
They
Booker
love
Prize,
books and authors.
Arundhati Roy, those are their favorite. I mean,
This year, this was a question,
Kiran
Kiran
Desai,
Desai.
exactly.
But I
And
will
that
appreciate.
question threw me off, actually, that Kiran Desai question.
No, but if you'll essentially see it as a pattern, so Kiran Desai was nominated, and but what they essentially asked the first time that she had
Yes,
won.
exactly.
So
So for that, I prepared who won last year, who won in 2024, but I did not prepare who got
the first time.
nominated or anything about them,
That's
about the
essentially how
one.
you prepare. So with NLSAT, they expect you to be generally aware. Like last
Yes.
12 months of current affairs, but then they expect you to be generally aware. And it's all about how you connect dots basically.
Yeah,
So if
exactly.
Kiran Desai, if she's being, I mean, she's being awarded with such a coveted prize, it's only reasonable for us to expect that the student would know that she'd actually won it before as
Exactly.
well. So I mean,
Definitely.
that's how you connect the static and the current part.
Yeah. And I feel like they are also trying to see how much you're reading,
Yes.
beyond just the political thing, but like how much you're reading and you're developing your own critical thinking. So yeah, I would recommend to read editorials. I think it really helps. Like especially like I would actually just read the Sunday Times. The Hindu has a special Sunday Times thing, and I think most papers do, and it does help you because it comes out with very unique tidbits, because I understand it's difficult to find specifically where to go and find what to read. So yeah, newspapers, if you're reading the current affairs, definitely read that part. And English, I think, to understand the thing, they like the process what they write it in the sense that like the pattern, because once you get the pattern down, it's very easy. The answers are in the paragraph.
Yes.
Yeah. And also what happens is when you're doing these English exercises, your reading ability gets better, and which is definitely going to help you because
Stamina, comprehension, of course,
yeah, because the paragraphs are quite large in the NLSAT
they're lengthy.
exams. Yeah.
I mean,
And definitely then practice the part B.
yes.
It does help a
Answer
lot.
writing is practice, and to gradually, because with the advent of technology, all of us are so out of touch with writing,
Yes.
more so specifically in an offline space, that the first time that I asked students like to pick up the pen and write, they
Yeah.
just thoughts, they don't flow that organically and
Yeah.
naturally, and that's primarily because our attention span has, again, doom scrolling and everything
Yeah.
has taken a huge hit. And to summarize, NLSAT basically rewards preface book readers and not preface readers. So
No.
the more
Yeah.
the your depth of understanding, knowledge, etc. Thank you
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
much, Mrignayani. It
Thank
was
you so
super
much.
fun interacting with you. I think your this interview is going to be helpful for a gazillion students who are either scared or do not have they have not yet gathered the courage to take a gap year and prepare for
Yeah.
an LSAT examination. So I think the story is going to be extremely, extremely inspiring for a lot of students. Thank you so much, and we are glad that we could play a part in your journey. I'm
Thank
looking
you so much.
forward to seeing you at NLS and sending a
Yes.
lot of pictures. A lot of fellow Elysians are going to be there. So it's
Yes.
like a lot of Elysians at NLS. So both 5 year and 3 years. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of your pictures.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Uh,
Bye.